Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of That's So Matthew. Today, I am very excited, worried, and scared for this episode of That's So Matthew. But I have an amazing guest and a very interesting movie to talk about. So introduce yourself and we'll be talking about.
Hi, I'm Bethy. I'm back again. Let's dive right into it.
Yeah, so Bethy is back on the pod to talk about Ella Enchanted to wrap up our royalty month of February here on the podcast, and I am so excited. I had never seen this movie before, which is like the travesty of like the highest honor. So I definitely have a lot of thoughts. But Bethy, what is like your experience with this movie? Was this like a childhood favorite?
This was, I believe, on Netflix when I was little for like a good solid 2 or 3 years. And I probably watched it like at least four or five times. I would think that it would be more than that, but also I didn't remember a bunch of stuff, so it wasn't like super clear in my memory.
Okay, so yeah, you had an experience with this movie. I had never heard of it, but I was scrolling through HBO Max because I just like got it for like 1 month because I'm like budget reasons, but I also needed to watch a Cinderella story on there for a podcast episode. So I was like, you know what? Let's make the best out of it. And I saw this movie and I was like, Ella Enchanted, this goes perfect with what I want to do for February. And I literally was like, hey, who wants to talk about Ella Enchanted? And Bethy was like, I volunteer as tribute. And I was like, let's go for it. So I'd never seen it. And I just knew that Anne Hathaway was in it. And really, that's about it. So I have all the thoughts. But before we like get into that, I think we should just talk about like an overview. It came out in 2004, which is also the year that I was born. That's exciting. On April 9th. I wasn't born until September, but like, same thing. And so it stars Anne Hathaway and Hugh Dancy, and it is basically a play of like many fairy tales. Cinderella, obviously, Ella Enchanted. I was also getting some Aladdin vibes with the guy with the snake, like Jafar kind of.
Yeah.
And it's also based off of a book called Ella Enchanted that came out in 1997. So it is a lot to unpack. I do want to say that before we even get into this episode, that this is the first episode, I think, ever of this kind that I did not enjoy this movie, but I know that Bethy loves it and has a special place for it. So I'm going to be going in to this episode with a very open mind to hear your point of view. And
Yeah.
I hope that like I don't offend you too much.
I think that it's just going to be a good discussion.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm always open to civil discussion here on the podcast. And I know that you have some points that you want to bring up. So I think that it should be a good time. So let's just kind of put the negativity of myself aside and get right into it. So first off, as Ella, we have Anne Hathaway. And so she is given this gift as a young baby of obedience by Lucinda, who is this fairy. And she basically needs to like obey everything that she's ever told. So if someone's like, shut up, she obviously shuts up. But so that was obviously a very interesting plot point that when it started, I was like, oh, okay, where is this going? What's going to happen? As a character, Ella is pretty okay. She's princessy. She's fallen in love with this guy. Like she has a strong bond and she's very princessy, but not to the point where it's like obsessive. But this movie is really interesting because it takes place completely in a fairy tale land. And I have not really watched a movie like that in quite some time, a live action one at least. And so it was definitely an interesting ride, especially because I like know that it's supposed to be like Cinderella, like a play off of it. It's a very classic kind of vibe. Ella did like her. I have nothing wrong with Ella, to be honest with you. So that's my thoughts on Ella. What did you think about her throughout this movie?
Okay, so like, I think that she was definitely a very kind of like basic character.
Yeah,
Like
she is basic.
Yeah, like there wasn't super like many things that were like pushing me to like really love her or like really hate her. I just think that a lot of that was like because of the stuff that's been put on her. Um, but I did like how she was like really dedicated to like the things that she was fighting for, like all the stuff that she would do with Arita or like trying to go find Lucinda and like stuff like that.
Yeah, I did like you're right. She's basic. She's like, the basic fairy tale like
Yeah,
main protagonist. Um
yeah.
yeah. I don't really have like I said anything wrong with her. Our next character is Hugh Dancy's character, Prince Shar. And he is the son of the king, and basically he is like the like it boy of this movie. Every single girl is like swooning over him, and they're like all falling in love with this man. So we got to talk about it because I feel like every single time that this happens in a movie, this man is very mediocre. And I'm going to use a phrase that I used in my episode about Aquamarine, which came out a couple weeks ago. As everyone knows, I'm a huge Swiftie. So, everyone might call him like Mr. Perfectly Fine, but I think he's Mr. Perfectly Mediocre.
Yeah. Like he was there. He like not a lot of his character was like super duper explored. And like he wasn't super like strong in any sense of what he was doing.
Yeah, his hair was also a choice. That
Yeah.
hairstyle is there. It seems to have come back. There are multiple kids in my school that have this hairstyle, and I'm just like, is this 2004?
Yeah.
Is this
No,
2004?
like I knew that this came out in like the early 2000s, but like it seemed like he was based off of Harry Styles for some reason. Like that was a choice.
Yeah, I also
maybe Harry Styles was growing up and he was like, "Oh my god, this is the best movie ever. I need to look exactly like him in 2012."
Fair enough.
Yeah. I bet
that could
that's
be
how it happened.
that
Yeah.
could be the theory. I mean, I just didn't have like anything to say about him. Like, obviously, he's the love interest. He's very
Yeah.
like mediocre, like love interest. Like, I wasn't like rooting for him in like any sense.
Yeah.
Like, go you slay. Like, I didn't have anything to say about
Yeah.
him. I think
Like they fell in love. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think that's like the first problem that I have with this movie is the love storyline is boring.
Like they fell in love so immediately with like no reason.
There's also just like no development between them. It's just like they're the same the entire time. Like I just wasn't rooting for them to fall in love and be happy and live happily ever after because I didn't like him. I didn't. He was just boring.
Yeah. And like uh at the beginning where she was like completely unimpressed with him, and then like as they were spending more time together, she was like getting like more attracted to him. But like it kind of reminded me of Starstruck. But I think that Starstruck kind of had like a more playful element, and this was kind of just like, you're annoying, now you're not, I love you.
Yeah, Starstruck also just like chef's kiss of a movie. Obsessed. But yeah, this movie is definitely the first thing that I did not like about it is the love is very boring. So I don't think I've said this on the podcast yet, but I did say this before we started recording. I actually had to kind of watch this movie in about 2 sittings. So I started watching it late last night. Like I had nothing to do. And I was like, I'm just going to get a head start on this podcast. Let me start watching this movie. I made it about 20 to 30 minutes in and I just kind of got bored. And I was like, I think I'm just going to go to sleep. I'll finish it tomorrow. So I'm keep watching this morning and it's just not doing it. I'm like, okay, did I miss something? Let's start over, which I have never done with the movie. I started from the very beginning and it didn't get better. And I'm so sad about it. But like, I think the first thing, like when he's introduced is that there is like really no strong chemistry between them. It's just like they're forced together and they're going to like fall in love and like live their best life.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I think that this was like a pretty long movie, but I thought that a lot of it was kind of like rushed.
Literally, that's what I was gonna say. It's long. Like it's not like a short little like 80-minute decom. This is a long movie, but nothing like felt properly done. Like it just felt like every time I looked at the screen or like took a break from like doing homework while watching this, it just felt like I was like in a different movie. Like when they introduced the guy with the snake.
Yeah, like something about the framing of that scene was like so like cohesive, and like the like color scheme or whatever, but also like, who are you? Like, why are you talking to the prince guy? Like, it was a strange introduction. And I think that just because I had seen the movie and like I knew where it was going, I might have like recognized him more.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that like the whole fact that he had a snake in this movie, it just was so weird because it was so like Cinderella, based literally everything off of Cinderella, and then it's like Jafar.
Yeah, like I, it's definitely supposed to be based off of Cinderella, like with the stepsisters and the like mom dying and everything, but like so many of the plot elements are just not similar at all.
Yeah, it was there were definitely choices made in the storyline. Especially like as we get into our next character, which is actually the guy with the snake, Sir Edgar. Okay, so basically he's like the evil uncle who wants to like take over the kingdom, like rule forever, like obsessed with like power. Um, he's definitely not a bad villain. I mean, I
Yeah,
see like he's a good villain. Sure, I like villains usually. But his
yeah,
character like just was so confusing to me because I didn't understand like anything that he how he wanted to like get the crown or like nothing felt
yeah,
like I was it was like giving absolutely nothing.
yeah. Like we were told a lot of the story through Ella's perspective, and like so like we didn't really know his motivations, but it made it confusing to follow. I definitely think so.
Yeah, it was very that's a good way to put it nicely. Is it's just confusing to follow because there's so much
Mhm.
going on and it is very rushed in a sense that like I'm tired of like all of this stuff that's being introduced and then there's the guy with the snake and then suddenly the snake is like talking at some
Yeah,
point. Can,
like
can
talking snake, wonderful to add, but like why?
why? No, I'm not like hating on it. I'm just like there was just so much going on that like I just literally could not process it in a chain like in any sense. I was like, okay, now we have a talking snake. But overall, villain like antagonist is strong, stronger than like, the prince dude that literally was giving us nothing. He's so
Yeah,
mediocre.
like the guy, the actor of Edgar, was the guy from The Princess Bride, but
Yes.
he was like fully committed to the character, and like I really respect that. Like he was so into it, you know?
Yeah, like Princess Bride is an amazing movie. And he has like I feel like this happens like in these like early 2000s films. We have like these big name actors in this movie that is like there's high expectations.
Mhm.
And yeah, he did deliver a little bit. I just don't think the character was written with
Yeah,
enough effort for it to play off in a good
yeah.
sense.
Like he wasn't fully fleshed out in the sense that like there needs to be like something to drive him to do this rather than just like he wants to rule the kingdom because he wants to be powerful.
I mean, fair enough if he wants the power, but give us something to like work off of, like why, and can we at least get like a good storyline?
Yeah, like I feel like you're supposed to root for like the villains, like even just a little bit. And like with this, it really did not happen.
Yeah, no, I am a villain lover, which is like I feel like a hot take. Like all Disney villains, pretty much in any movie, I'm obsessed. Like, don't get me wrong. And I do root for the villain sometimes, but when I don't have anything to root for them about, that's where I kind of get lost in translation a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's my
Yeah.
thoughts on the villain dude. Shout out to you with the snake. You're pretty cool. Next. So we also have the slant, I believe it's Slannon, who's like the little elf dude.
Yeah. Like this guy, he was a lot.
Don't
Like
disagree. Don't
he
do not
was, yeah.
disagree.
Like there was so many things added in about his character that I don't totally understand why. Like he wanted to be a lawyer. Why?
For what?
And, yeah. Like, what made you do this? And like, I know that it's like all the bad stuff happening with the elves and like he wants to fight for them, but also like, why wouldn't you just want to sing and dance all the time?
Yeah, like he like this the soundtrack of this movie I did love. I loved
Yeah.
the soundtrack.
Oh, so good.
And like it just had so many like random like bops just like randomly coming in. Like I was like, okay, yeah, pop off. But then this guy is like, no, I want to be a lawyer.
Like, did the concept of a lawyer even exist in this fairy tale land? Like,
That's
there
like
was a
what I
king.
was thinking. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. Well, also, I feel like they added in a lot of jokes that were definitely aimed towards like not like an adult audience in the way that they're raunchy or whatever, but like they were aimed for like someone who's like not 8, you know?
Yeah. This movie, I could not tell what the target audience was.
Yeah.
TBH. Like, I couldn't tell if it's like children. Are we like am I supposed to be like 5 years old? Am I supposed to be like 8 years old? Am I supposed to be like a 20-year-old man? Like I couldn't tell.
Yeah, like I feel like with the plot elements, they were definitely like trying to market it to kids, but they added in so much stuff that's like way complex. And like it's probably like why so much of the story went over my head when I was little.
Yeah. I could definitely see that being a problem. Like, I don't think that I could show this to like any child and they would like fully grasp what is going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
I didn't fully grasp what was going on and I'm 17. Like, so I can't like hate on the children too much.
yeah. Like I feel like so much of the plot revolves around like Ella wanting to help all the ogres and the elves that are being like exploited by the king. But like a 7-year-old is not going to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot, for sure. And we also can't forget our stepsisters who,
True.
wow. There was a lot going on. I
Mhm.
think that like the first one we have, I believe Hattie. The names in this movie are something else, like uh another level. But Lucy Punch, I am obsessed with her. First off, and I could not remember like why I like went through my obsessive phase with her. And so like I'm watching this movie and I'm like, what is she from? And she's from none other than the series of unfortunate events series on Netflix, which is just like Chef's Kiss. And so I loved her character. She's supposed to be like annoying and like stupid, but I was obsessed.
Yeah. Like again, I think that this was just like an example of actors just like fully committing to their roles in this movie. Like obviously she's not like stupid and self-centered in real life, but like in this it comes across so well and like it really fits with her character.
No, like that is such a typecast for her because in Series of Unfortunate Events, she plays Esme, who is literally a self-centered like biatch. So like
Yeah.
it's just like her like vibe, and I am so obsessed with her in this movie that dare I say she might have been my favorite character.
Really?
I know. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was bored during this movie, but whenever she came on, I like thoroughly like enjoyed like what she was supposed to be doing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna like look at this text from my mom because she like never texts me. She sent me 2 pictures of shoes. Let's rate and review them on the podcast. So I think these are shoes
Wow.
for me. So the
Mm.
first one, they're like multicolored and there's a lot going on. There's like a pattern.
Yeah.
For sure. That's a choice. And then the
Mm-hmm.
next one
Mm-hmm.
are these blue ones.
Okay, I like the first one's better now.
I do also like the first ones better. Wow. So let's respond. Hey, she's also shoe shopping right now for anyone who like didn't figure it out. Like she like wanted to go. So I'm like obviously not gonna like hate on her. But yeah, so this took such a
I
turn.
think that the first ones might match better with outfits that you're making,
Oh yeah, because I
but
feel like my style has changed like dramatically.
really?
Nora
Mm-hmm.
Nora told me that the other day. And I
Oh,
was
that's
like,
nice.
I was kind of like, think someone noticed.
No, definitely like over the summer, my style changed so much. Like not over the summer, but like since the summer, you know?
Yeah, no. I would agree with that. No, 2021, 2022 school year is a lot. It like did a lot to me, and we're not even done. We're not even done. But yeah, so back on track
Like
with
literally one semester in, and so much has happened.
oh my God, I know. Literally, I have my school like did exams like before break because we're quirky. And so I've been like in the second semester for 3 weeks, and I literally just want to be like done.
Yeah,
Who told me three APs was the way to go?
the four are killing me. Like,
Bethy, you know better. Poor girl. No.
well, you have like, well, we also have like 7 periods a day.
Oh my. And I have block schedule. I don't even know how you're like, are you alive? Like, are you okay?
Well, like my 4 classes are like my only like real classes.
Oh.
Like I'm taking choir and like a study hall.
Oh,
So like,
okay. So period. So you're like,
yeah,
you're living the dream.
I am.
Yeah, love that for you. Back actually on what we're supposed to be talking about, this very
Oh
interesting
yes.
movie. We also have Olive, who's the other stepsister. Oh, Olive. Okay.
Fully so iconic.
No, she is so iconic. Like, can we just talk about like the names and characters in this movie just like deserve their own like award?
Yeah.
It
Like,
really took me back. Like honestly, like the name Olive, the first thing that came to mind was Olive from Ant Farm on Disney Channel, which was my like life for a long time.
yeah.
But yeah, I was obsessed with her. I feel like both stepsisters, like in like some of these adaptations, are like almost too obnoxious, but these ones were like too obnoxious, but like that's how they were written. Like this is like the goal for them. And so
Yeah.
I was here for it. I definitely think that this is probably my favorite adaptation of the stepsisters
Yeah.
that I've seen in a
Like,
while.
like in a Cinderella story, like those just like they weren't putting anything out there that wasn't new. And I think that these ones were just like so much more unique and like outside the box that it was like refreshing, you know?
Yeah, I actually just watched the first Cinderella story for the podcast, and it came out like a month before this episode's being published. But it really did do. You're right. These stepsisters are something that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. Like I think it was when they were at the ball and Char came up to them and was like, "Would you like to dance?" And Hattie just like got the biggest grin on her face and she was like so like overcome with joy. And I think that like that's not something that I've really ever seen before. And like I liked how she portrayed that.
Yeah, it's something refreshing, especially because I was even gonna say at some point in this episode, so I might as well say it now. I'm kind of sick and tired of the Cinderella like adaptations. Like,
Like
can
there
we
are
like
so
stop?
many.
Like, I love. Don't get me wrong, a Cinderella story. Though, like, there's three acceptable ones: the Lucy Hale one, the Selena Gomez one, and the Hilary Duff one are all okay. This like Enchanted, like I have seen it all, but can we like stop?
Yeah. Like the Camila Cabello one, stop it right now.
I did not even watch it because I refuse.
No, I've literally never seen it. I just like know that it's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, no, when it was trending on TikTok, that was my warning sign
Yeah.
because that was just a lot.
Yeah. When it like first came out, one of my friends posted on her story like a screenshot of her grandma texting her and being like, "You should see the new Cinderella movie. It looks really good." And she just like responding like, "No, it looks terrible."
No, because it literally, I just refuse. And also Camila Cabello, like that's the best they could do. Like, but
Yeah.
Dina Menzel as a stepmother is kind of iconic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will.
Oh my
I will
God.
give that.
The opening with them singing Rhythm Nation.
That when that
Who let this
trended on.
happen?
No, who did? Like, is this a fever dream? Am I in a fever dream? Would not be surprised. So
Yeah.
good. No, but this
Like you may not have liked this one, but we can definitely agree that it was better than the Camila Cabello one.
No, yeah, you're right. I would watch this on loop before I even watched the new Cinderella.
Even thought of watching that one.
You know, just the thought of it. Like at some point, might need to just watch it for the podcast for like shits and giggles. But like when that time comes, you will know I'm desperate. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on from that little
Yeah.
Cinderella rant. Honestly, I do just really want to talk about the the ogre. It was a choice.
Yeah. Like the way that they like costume the ogres even.
Also a choice.
Like I know that they were trying to stray from like Shrek and like trying to not just copy that, but
Fair.
why were their feet so big? And why were they blue? And why were they walking around in these giant ass clothes that looked like literal like sheets of leaves? Like what was happening?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I am a very, 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 very big Shrek fan, and I will forever stand by that. I love Shrek. It is a work of art. So obviously at this time, Shrek is in it's like huge momentum. So
Yeah.
they're probably like, okay, how do we do ogres but not do Shrek? Okay, let's just do everything that Shrek did right and make it wrong. Like the ogres, just like it, even like the big, like the main ogre. I forgot his name. I have it pulled up. Nish question mark. I don't know. I don't care because I wasn't into it. I just wasn't into it. I was like, why is this occurring? This was not in Cinderella. Like what?
Like I don't even know what they were trying to do with the ogres. Like I know that it was there so that they could like come help later and like beat up all the guards and whatever. But like when we were first introduced to them, they automatically went to, oh, we're gonna eat Ella and like chain this guy to a tree. And then like oh, it was very strange.
Yeah, no. The scene where they're like chained on the tree and then like about to like fall into their death. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
Like, what was that? Like, I honestly at this point was starting to be disengaged. I look up at the TV and then they're hanging on a tree and about to fall to their death. I'm like, oh,
I just also want to say that at this point, he's like, oh, well, we have to wait for it to boil. And then one of the other ogres say, well, if you watch it, it's not gonna boil.
okay.
Like the jokes in this movie were so strange.
I do love that joke because for the longest
Yeah.
time, when my grandma used to teach me how to make pasta, she would always be like, if you watch the water, it's not going to boil. And so when I did hear that joke, I was like,
Yeah.
flashbulb memory. But it was just
Oh
a
my
lot.
God, did you just learn about that in psych?
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh my God.
no, psych, an experience of the mind. It's testing me every day. I'm almost done with my notebook. It is a full 200-page composition notebook. I have pretty much filled it up.
Oh my God. I believe I am definitely on the still 70-page notebook.
No, we take two different kinds of notes for each unit in my psych class or
Well, she's
module.
definitely handed out like a bunch of packets and like
Oh,
my folder is overflowing. So like it's definitely there.
we
But
don't do packets. We only do notes.
ooh, lucky you. You know, that's just the best way to learn things. Because it's what my A-push teacher did last year, and I totally did so well in that class.
Oh my god, I will never take a push. No, thank you.
Yeah,
But
you.
yeah, I did learn about that in psych. So flashbulb memory, that's what I thought of was the traumatizing experience of my first time making pasta at my grandma's house, and I almost burned myself. Alrighty, so yeah, that was my kind of like vibe. The last one that I really want to talk about is the stepmother. This was a stepmother that I don't think we've ever seen before.
Okay, so in my English class last year, I believe we were talking about fairy tales, and we watched like this old Cinderella movie that was made in like Germany, and I believe that they based this stepmother off of like kind of the old fairy tale version of the stepmother, like not the Disney version or like the rest of like the adaptations from that. Like it was very more like consistent old lady, uh, like rich, whatever, right? But I don't entirely like the way that they made her.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, she's very like I think more mean in this movie than like in most of them. Like on
Yeah,
the Wikipedia page, because that's like my source that I base off all my information off of, it calls her like a verbally abusive stepmother. And I would say that she's probably more verbally abusive than like any of the other ones.
yeah,
And she's like an old, like rude lady, like step back.
yeah. And the way that, oh my God, okay, so like she has all the money in the world. She's supposed to like fall madly in love with like the dad, right? So that like that's the only way he'll like marry her. But like when he comes back like later in the movie and he's like, I'm in town for business. I wanted to step by. And she was like, what are you doing here? Like that seemed very strange.
No, she was just a strange adaptation of the character. Because don't get me wrong, I love me like a good like stepmother evil lady.
Yeah.
Like, but what? It just wasn't good. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
thumbs down for me.
They were definitely going in a direction. It was not good.
Yeah, yeah, that's my like hot take of the stepmother is just I didn't like the way that she was portrayed at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. As you can tell, we're loving this. So that's like all of the characters that are like worthy. There also is the household fairy, and like there's a couple of like there's also Lucinda, but Lucinda didn't really add anything to the story. She just like was there at the end and the beginning, and she's like obedient.
Yeah. Obedient, and now you're unchained from the tree.
Yeah, literally that's it. Because also, can we talk about like we're about to get into the plot. So we're obviously gonna start off with the whole obedient thing as a child. What was that?
Like, why did you think that that was going to be the best gift that you could ever give to Ella?
Yeah, I was definitely um unenthused about
Yeah.
like the obedience thing. Like at first I was like, okay, I have no idea where this is going. But then like the one scene where she's in front of the class and it's like hold your tongue and then she like holds her tongue, like
Yeah.
that's like it was a lot. I
Like,
didn't like it. Like I didn't think that it was needed, or like when the prince like told her to like stay here and then she like stayed and almost died. And he's like, why didn't you
yeah.
move? Like
Like,
it was a choice.
yeah. Like Ella definitely adapted and like she knew how to control most things. But like it as soon as someone figures it out, it is so easy to manipulate that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, manipulation, red flag. Red flag. Um, I didn't see how it was necessary, and I was like hoping that you would see how it was necessary, but we both agreed that it wasn't necessary, so I think we can agree that it was
Well, like
stupid.
I believe that like it was like a plot device. Like they needed Ella to have the like character growth of no, I'm not going to kill the prince, and like all these people like did all these terrible things to me, and like I'm going to overcome it now in the end. But like, eh, I feel like they could have just made like a cute little fairy tale, you know?
Yeah, I didn't like it. So that's like the first problem I had with this movie, which was not the boring thing because I was kind of intrigued by it at first, but then it got like really old real fast. Um, so we get the powers from Lucinda, and so then we kind of see that Ella's mom dies really tragically very quickly, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is the direction we're going. Obviously the mom has to die for it to be a Cinderella story, because then we
Yeah.
have to have the evil lady come in and be like, I'm your mother now. um Basically she's like, don't tell anyone that you have this gift, people might use it against you.
Yeah. And that so Ella can't tell anyone ever.
Yeah. So that was like the first like couple minutes of this movie. However, I digress and moved on. And so basically, um, Ella's father ends up marrying the evil stepmother whose name is like Dame Olga.
What?
Yeah, I looked it up and I was like, Dame Olga, like that's a name.
Yeah. I like that they definitely did not say that like in the movie, but like that's funny.
It's also according to Wikipedia, but like it's a pretty reliable source in my book, so we'll
Yeah.
work with it. So yeah, Dame Olga, basically Ella does not vibe with her very much, and Olga dislikes her and treats her very rudely. So eventually Ella comes across the prince, and so he invites her to the coronation ball. So we've got the coronation kind of going on. That's exciting, very unique. And so basically, uh, Olga's daughters, Hattie and Olive, icons of the highest degree. They find out that she does have this obedience like power thing, and they use it to manipulate and force her to do random stuff.
Yeah.
So
Like, okay, the scene where they were like at the market and then they were like, take all of this. And then like the guards started chasing after her and she had to like go down the like pole and she like froze in midair. All that stuff happened. Like it was weird that they were manipulating her so much, but that was like a beautifully done sequence.
yeah, no, I did not
Yeah.
like the manipulation, obviously, but I was like, okay, this is a good scene.
Yeah. Oh, when it first started and they were like going down the like escalator with Arita, and there was like it was like a wooden escalator, and there was a guy at the end just like turning on the wood.
Yeah, I did like how they like tried to like demodernize a lot of the stuff in this movie, but I was like,
Yeah.
choices were
Like
made.
they were in like at the beginning of the movie, the dad was like looking for jobs and he was like circling stuff in the newspaper and it was like job opening for like a computer programmer, but they made it like an abacus programmer. Like
It's
I
cute. I
think
did
it
like
was
that.
written well. Like the jokes were written well.
Yeah, it definitely, yeah. I mean, even 18 years later, I thought that like it was still funny.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. Um, so then Arita ends up having to stop being friends with Ella because of the stepmother Olga. F that bitch. Sorry. I that's actually more swearing than I wanted to do on this episode, but that's okay. And so basically she goes on this journey to like find her, to find Lucinda. And so on this journey, Ella comes across the elf who wants to be a lawyer, but he's forced to sing and dance, which personally I don't think is that bad, but like, maybe it's just not his forte.
Yeah.
Um, and so then we kind of see this very interesting scene with the ogres who want to eat them, but then are rescued by the prince. And so he wants to avenge the death of his father. So we've kind of got some like avenging going on, kind of here for it. And then we find out that Ella is kind of going to open his eyes, as Wikipedia says, to the oppressing laws of elves and giants based that his uncle has, aka the Edgar guy with the snake.
Yeah.
That was a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what they were going for at this point.
Like they were making a movie based off of the book and they had to have a way for Ella to fall in love with the prince and for them to realize that Edgar is bad. And but like they packaged it all of the talk about like revolution and like stopping like authoritarian oppression, but they packaged it in a fairy tale movie. And then they marketed it to little kids who wouldn't understand it. And like a, I don't know. It was just like a strange element for this movie to add in. I feel like.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it just felt forced and didn't like have any like historical like significance or meaning because it was a children's movie.
Yeah. And like it's supposed to be a metaphor for like being people being taken advantage of. But like you put it into ogres and elves and giants. Like
Yeah.
I like so much of the plot feels like it was supposed to be like for an older audience, but then like it was a fairy tale movie, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I did not enjoy that part. But moving right along, uh basically Lucinda has left, and so we can't forget that Somebody to Love is performed for the wedding guest, and then she starts to fall in love.
Why was this needed?
It wasn't.
Like the giants, that was cool. I liked when we first got to the party and they were like dancing and whatever. Also, the costuming, fabulous,
Love.
wonderful. Yeah. Um, but like, why did we need this song specifically? And why do we need Ella to sing it like so hesitantly? And also, it was like most definitely not Anne Hathaway singing.
Apparently it is, but I don't think it is.
I feel like they are lying.
According to Wikipedia, she did the singing for this movie, but I agree. I don't think it was her.
It sounded nothing like her.
Yeah, I don't think it was her.
And I think that this is like the only time I've ever seen her in a movie singing, so I really don't think that it was her.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But Edgar comes back and he learns about the obedience power, which kind of like irked me because I already didn't like him. But he knows that Ella is in love with Shar, and he's like, kill Shar.
Which was so terrible.
Yeah, and so basically he wanted that if the prince is dead, Edgar becomes king. So that's why he's like, kill him. Like,
yeah,
that was so much to take in. Like, it got really dark real fast.
Yeah. Like the way that he set up the sequence of like, you're gonna go to the Hall of Mirrors and Shara's gonna propose to you, and then you're gonna take this dagger and stab him through the heart. Like, I get that you're supposed to be a villain, but like this is still like supposedly like a lighthearted kids movie. Like,
that's what I thought, but guess I was wrong because it only gets worse because basically Ella's like, I have to leave. But then she gets chained to a tree, and basically they recruit elves and giants to protect the prince.
yeah.
What was happening? It just progressively got more and more like a fever dream.
Like it kind of feels like they were making stuff up as they went.
Yeah, I do agree, but then it basically Lucinda appears and Ella's like, hey, I don't want this anymore, like please fix me. Basically it's just a lot. And then she gets a fancy dress from Lucinda and she gets unchained. She goes to the castle, and then they go to the mirrors, the Hall of Mirrors, which we heard about. And he proposes, and as she's about to kill him, basically she like sees her reflection, which is like, oh yeah, bye, no more gift. We're done with that. And yeah, and then Ella gets arrested by Edgar.
And also like later after that, when Edgar was like talking to Sharon, he was like, no, they planned this all along. We had like spies telling us that like she was working with the ogres, and that the entire thing was like to overthrow you. Like, how are you this evil?
Yeah, this guy was so evil, and for what? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Up next, we have the whole like the Hall of Records thing that was kind of going on. Benny, and then the elf like kind of like comes, and then there's like a whole dungeon scene, and then it's like Edgar's gonna be killed, and then it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, like with the poison crown. Like, what was that?
Yeah, can we talk about like the poison crown? Because what was that?
Also, like when they first or they like opened the book and then they were like, show me Edgar, and he was like poisoning the crowd. Like it was staged so weird. Like the other times that they used the like book, it was like Ella in like the dungeon and she was like peering out whatever, and then it was like Lucinda sleeping and like shopping and whatever, but then Edgar, he was like directly facing the camera, and like oh, it that was a bad choice.
Yeah, I did not like that. But it kind of just gets really crazy because then Benny becomes human again, and
Yeah.
then they like fight the guards, and then she's like, I'm in love with you. And then she's like, Edgar is gonna try to kill you, but then you still have the Char's father, and then it just gets more crazy, and then he like Edgar's like, I'm the king now, but then he puts on the crown, and guess what? It's poisoned. He
Yeah.
dies.
Yeah. Like the entire ending sequence felt very like crammed together.
It was so crazy and so hectic, and I didn't like it.
Why did we spend so much time on the ogres?
Why did Edgar like find the need to be so evil for no reason?
Yeah.
But yeah, we can't pretty much talk about the ending of the movie without saying that Char and Ella get married,
Yeah.
and
And
it's
then
a whole scene, and they start singing "Don't Go Breaking My Heart," and then they ride off into the sunset. The end.
Mhm. Also like her wedding dress, gorgeous.
The choreography
Like
was
the
cute.
long sleeves. Yeah, the like long sleeves and the boots, like come on.
No,
Yeah.
I thought that scene was good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The singing was slightly strange, but I liked it. Like it was cute.
Yeah, it was kind of giving me Cinderella 2021 vibes, but better
Yeah.
with pop songs. Um, yeah, I think that's like a a good way to put it. Now we have to rate this movie, which obviously we're gonna have some differing opinions, which is totally okay. It happens. I respect. I'll go first to get like the negative Nancy stuff out of the way. I have to give this film like a 5 out of 10.
uh like I knew we were gonna disagree, but like I don't
Okay.
know.
I was originally going to give it a 4 out of 10, but after talking to you and like kind of like revisiting it in my mind, because obviously I'm not rewatching it right now, I was like, it was good. Like the songs were nice. I thought that like it was a cute movie for kids. However, because I think I'm like a teenager, I was just overthinking everything and like kind of hating on it for no reason.
Yeah.
That's kind of like my vibe that I think.
Yeah. I think that like the same element kind of plays into that, but I think that like because I like pretty things and like big flowers and like sparkly dresses and whatever, like I was still very engaged with that, and like because like I understood the jokes and like the plot line and like what like Edgar being king means. Like I think that I was very engaged with it. Um I didn't like how they made like the main villain of the story, like not Edgar, but like Lucinda, like really the only black character that they had in the movie.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I didn't like that.
yeah, I that feels wrong. Um, and I didn't entirely like how we were kind of getting mixed messages and like the pacing was a little off. But other than that, like I really enjoyed it, and like I had such a good time watching it. So like I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Um, like I might not, it might take me like a while to rewatch because I have like so much of it like in my mind, but it's definitely a fun time. So I liked it.
Yeah. Like I said, it just wasn't my cup of tea. That's okay. We can always have different opinions on the podcast, and it's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a lot for me, and it just wasn't my film, and I think that that's okay. And that I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and that this has such like a significant like meaning to you. And yeah, I thought it was like a super good cute movie for this theme month, but not good for like my purpose of
Yeah.
yeah. But that's okay. And like I said, stepsisters were iconic. There were definitely parts that I enjoyed and parts that like I appreciated. It's just it wasn't it for me.
Yeah.
And however, that should not stray you away from watching this movie. It's on HBO Max. If you enjoyed this commentary and maybe you're like, I think I might like this movie, go check it out. I'm not gonna hate on you for that. Like it's your choice. You go do that. But yeah, thank you so much, Bethy, for coming on the podcast again. It was great to
Yeah,
have
of course.
you.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, I bet you were like expecting a little bit of a different like opinion, but we made it work. But yes, thank you everyone so much for listening. It's always a pleasure. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all the places at that. So Matthew. Also, fun fact: I'm locked out of my podcast TikTok and have no idea how to get back in. So that's fun. But still follow me there. You guys can check me out wherever you check out your podcast, and make sure to rate and review me on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify now because they do that. So that's fun. And I'll talk to everyone in another episode again soon. Bye.